Hey everyone, it's tea time with the diva. Grab your tea, grab your coffee, because we're about to dive into a juicy discussion. Today's tea time is dedicated to the Real Housewives of Atlanta, and specifically, to Porsha Williams and the drama involving her ex-fiancé, Dennis McKinley, and Drew Sidora. Trust me, this is one of those conversations you don't want to miss. Now, here's my question for you all. Would you be upset if your ex, the father of your child or children, was working with your co-worker, especially if you still work at the same job? Would it bother you? And what if your ex started dating or sleeping with your co-worker? Does that become your business, especially if you're no longer together? These are some of the questions we need to dive into today, because Porsha's reaction to Dennis working with Drew really has me wondering. To put it simply, Porsha is upset. She's really upset that Dennis, her baby daddy, is allegedly filming and working with Drew. According to Porsha, it just ain't right. She believes that Dennis filming with Drew, especially on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, is a betrayal of some sort, and it clearly isn't sitting well with her. So, let's break down this situation and unpack everything that happened in the latest episode, which brings so much drama. The scene that started it all. In the latest episode of Real Housewives of Atlanta, Porsha had a heated conversation with Dennis about filming with Drew. The tension was palpable, and it all started when Porsha got the chance to speak freely with a producer. She was given permission to break the fourth wall and express her real feelings about the situation. In this candid moment, Porsha addressed the fact that Dennis is working with Drew on the show, which she finds unacceptable. Dennis, on the other hand, insisted that his relationship with Drew is strictly professional. They're just working together on some business endeavors, including music production, and there's nothing romantic or personal about it. However, Porsha wasn't buying it. She made it clear that she has a serious issue with the idea of Dennis filming with Drew, especially on a show that she's also involved with. For Porsha, it's not just about business, it's about loyalty. She doesn't want Dennis to be filming with Drew, especially not while they are still co-parenting their daughter, Pilar, together. Porsha's emotions were running high during this exchange. She said, "If you're going to film, it needs to be with me, and me only." She felt that there was a breach of loyalty happening, and that Dennis was crossing a line by getting involved with Drew in this way. Porsha explained, "I have no expectations on Dennis besides being a great dad for Pilar. But the one thing I'm asking is that you don't film with her on the show. You can't do that." The emotional reaction. As Porsha began to break down emotionally, it was clear that her frustration was about more than just the filming situation. She felt deeply hurt and betrayed. At one point, she tearfully explained that she couldn't count on anyone to have her back, especially when it comes to her family. Porsha's emotions were raw as she said, "Imagine him and I getting into it, and now he gets on these cameras and uses my platform against me. I don't need anything else." This moment was revealing, as it showed just how deeply Porsha feels about maintaining control over her personal life and her public image. The thought of Dennis filming with Drew, especially if their relationship becomes more than professional, was a blow to her sense of security. She didn't want her family drama to play out on television, especially if it could potentially paint her in a negative light. Porsha even went as far as to say, "He doesn't deserve my tears. I refuse to give him my tears," which suggested that she was still carrying a lot of unresolved feelings about their past relationship. While she was upset with Dennis, it seemed that she was also struggling with the reality of being on TV while dealing with the fallout of a second divorce. Her first divorce was public and painful, and now she was facing a second, very public split, and her baby daddy was seemingly getting too close to someone she considered a co-worker. The disagreement continues. As the conversation between Porsha and Dennis continued, it was clear that both of them were frustrated. Dennis tried to defend his actions, claiming that working with Drew was simply a business move, and he didn't see the big deal. He even pointed out that it could be a good way to promote Drew's music. Porsha, however, was not impressed. She felt that Dennis was playing the game and using the situation to his advantage. At one point, Porsha bluntly told Dennis, "What you do is going to mark how this looks for your daughter." For her, it wasn't just about her feelings or her relationship with Dennis, it was about how their actions would impact their daughter's future. Porsha didn't want any more drama surrounding their family, and she clearly believed that filming with Drew would only escalate the situation. Despite the emotional moments and the tension between them, Dennis continued to defend his actions. He seemed unbothered by the idea of working with Drew, which only added to Porsha's frustration. To Porsha, it wasn't just about the business, it was about loyalty and respect. She felt like Dennis wasn't being loyal to her by working with Drew, especially when their relationship was still in a fragile place. The bigger picture, what's really going on? Now, as a viewer, I couldn't help but ask, why is Porsha so emotional about this situation? Is it really about Dennis working with Drew, or is there something deeper going on? Porsha has been in the reality TV game long enough to know that everything, especially filming, is part of the show. She understands that it's a way to promote projects, build storylines, and create drama. So, why is this situation hitting her so hard? Maybe it has to do with the fact that Porsha has been through a lot recently, especially with her second divorce being so public. The first one was a huge deal, and now she's facing another split, and this time, it's from Simon Guybadia, who has also been part of the drama with Fallon Guybadia. Maybe Porsha feels that, at least with Dennis, she could still have some semblance of control, but now, it's slipping away from her. She's struggling to cope with the idea that Dennis is moving on in his own way, and filming with Drew is just one of the ways he's doing that. It's also worth considering Porsha's relationship with Drew. Early in the episode, Drew made it clear that she didn't have any romantic feelings for Dennis. She even went so far as to say that Dennis had reached out to her management about working together, and that he had assured her that Porsha had given him her blessing to work with Drew. Drew said, "Dennis has been more like a brother to me." So, where does all this animosity come from? Porsha, however, didn't take kindly to Drew working with Dennis, especially without her explicit permission. She was especially upset by the idea that Drew might be trying to promote her beauty brand, Go Naked, by using Dennis. This felt like a betrayal to Porsha, especially since she considered Drew a friend. To Porsha, it felt like Drew was taking advantage of their professional relationship for personal gain, and she wasn't having it. Porsha even called Drew a low-down, dirty individual for going behind her back to work with Dennis. The hypocrisy of it all. What makes this situation even more complicated is the hypocrisy surrounding Porsha's own past. Let's not forget that Porsha's marriage to Simon Guybadia raised eyebrows because she quickly moved on from Dennis to marry Simon, who was allegedly friends with Dennis. Porsha's situation with Simon seemed sketchy to many, and now she's calling out Drew for working with Dennis. There's some irony here, considering Porsha's own history with moving on quickly and creating headlines in the process. Additionally, if Drew and Dennis were not romantically involved, then why would Porsha be so upset? What's the big deal if Drew is working on music with Dennis or collaborating on other projects? Is it simply a matter of control, or does Porsha genuinely feel hurt by the idea of her ex moving on with someone else, even if it's on a professional level? Conclusion: what's the real issue? At the end of the day, it seems that Porsha's real issue is not so much with Dennis or Drew, but with the lack of control she has over the situation. She's going through a difficult emotional time, and it seems like everything is spiraling out of her hands. She's dealing with 2 public divorces, a complex relationship with her ex, and now, drama with a friend-turned-co-worker. Porsha's emotions are understandable, but at the same time, it's hard to ignore the fact that she's playing a bit of a double standard. She's upset about Dennis working with Drew, but she had no qualms about moving on with Simon so quickly, despite the drama it caused. Reality TV is all about creating and controlling narratives, but at some point, it feels like Porsha just needs to take a step back and reflect on what really matters: her daughter and her own peace of mind. So, what do you all think? Should Porsha be so upset with Dennis working with Drew, or is this just another example of reality TV drama gone too far? Let me know your thoughts, and I'll chat with you soon.